Hey y'all, my name is Latrice Sampson Richards. I am your life enhancement coach, and welcome to day number 4 of the road to transformation. I'm super excited to be here with y'all today. As usual, I'm always excited to be here with y'all, but I'm especially excited today because we are talking about how to set sustainable goals, and that's a very important word there, sustainable goals, right? Because goal setting is an important part of the transformation journey, right? So anybody that's going through a transformation has to be able to set some type of goals. Now, we have the virtual vision board party that's coming up on January 13th, and if you're participating in that, then that's where we're really going to deal with like some of the organizational structures and like really those building block kind of pieces of putting together goals for yourself, right? Today, what I want to talk about is some of the internal processes, some of the foundational pieces that really have to be in place in order for you to be able to create goals and transformation that can last and stand the test of time. Yeah, I think so many of us, we want to jump straight into the vision board. And like I said, in the vision board, the virtual vision board party, we are going to create our vision board. We're going to have a good time. We're going to drink some wine. We might laugh. We might cry. Who knows? We're going to have a good time as we go through the process of building our vision and creating those goals for ourselves. But there's some work that has to be done before we get to that point. And nobody ever really wants to pay attention to or focus on that work. And I mean, there's a lot of reasons why. It's not easy to confront some of the internal processes that you're dealing with that are stunting your growth. You know what I'm saying? If it were that easy, then everybody would do it and I wouldn't have no damn job, right? So I understand that it's not necessarily at the top of the list, but it definitely needs to be a priority. And so today we're talking about some of the internal processes and the internal functions that build up the foundation of your goal setting, because it starts here before you ever see it here, right? So before you see it in real life, you have to see it in your mind first. And if there are mental and emotional blocks in there that are stopping you from being able to see it, then you're doomed before you even get started. All right. So we're going to go ahead and jump on into today's topic. The first step in how to set sustainable goals for yourself is to remove emotion from the process. Now, this is a very important step. I talk about the emotional being and the logical being often, right? So in my opinion, we all have multiple beings that live inside of us, right? And two of those is the emotional being and the logical being. Both of those beings represent a very vital piece of your personality, a very vital piece of who you are, right? And they're both kind of like alpha dogs, and they don't get along. They are like oil and water, for lack of a better way to really explain that. They are like oil and water. They don't like each other. And I think it's because both of them are so dominant that they both feel like they should be in control. And so they clash often, right? And so it is virtually impossible to be both emotional and logical simultaneously, right? Now, both of those beings exist inside of you, but they both cannot take the lead at the same time. And so when you are setting goals for yourself, I think it's best for you to remove the emotion from the situation or from that process, because goal setting needs to be a strategic process, right? Like goal setting needs to be thought-provoking. It needs to be well thought out. There's no real place for emotion and the erratic nature of emotion when you're trying to set goals. You need to be in a place of clarity, okay? So how do you get yourself to be able to remove the emotion from the situation? Well, you have a conversation with your emotional being, right? Because she's reasonable as much as she can be. All right, I like to think of the emotional being kind of like a 3 or 4 or maybe a 5-year-old child, right? And this is for everybody. It doesn't matter how evolved you are, your emotional being is childlike. Okay, it's very primitive. It wants what it wants when it wants it, and if it doesn't get what it wants or if it doesn't get what it needs, it acts the goddamn fool. Okay, you all know it. We done seen people, kids all up in the supermarket and stuff acting the damn fool in the aisle because they couldn't get their way. They couldn't push the basket, or they couldn't get the grits that they wanted, or the cereal that they wanted. You know, that's the same thing with the emotional being. When our emotional being feels dissatisfied or feels wronged or feels upset or whatever the emotion is, then she needs to express that. Okay, so you need to have a conversation with your emotional being, and you need to say to her, listen, girl, listen, I need you to chill out for a little while because I got some shit I need to take care of. I need to be able to be logical right now in this moment. And so I need you to back a little bit for me. You know what I'm saying? And she will listen, but you have to make sure to come back to her. So the conversation that you're having with her is, not right now, please. I just need a moment. I need to be able to be logical. I need you to give me some time, but I am coming back to you. And I think that's the part that so many of us miss, because we tell our emotional being, go sit down, go sit down, go sit down, but we never come back to her and give her a moment to do what she needs to do. And the reality is that she has to be able to do what she needs to do. Okay? And so when you promise your emotional being that if you give me 2 hours to focus on this, or 2 days to focus on this, I'm going to come back to you and give you an opportunity to do what you need to do. When you don't ever come back, when you break that promise to her, it ruptures the trust that you have with that internal being. And so now she don't trust that you're going to do what's in her best interest, that you're going to come back and give her a chance to do what she needs to do. And so she's just going to act the damn fool whenever she feel like acting the damn fool. You get what I'm saying? And that's when your emotions become erratic. Okay? So in order to remove the emotion from the situation or from the process, you have to have a conversation with your emotional being. And you have to build that trust with your emotional being. You have to ask her for the time that you need to be logical. And you have to promise her that she is going to have her moment. But then you actually have to give her her moment. You cannot leave that piece out. You have to give her her moment so that the trust between your logical or your inner self and your emotional self stays intact and strengthens. Okay? And then you can do what you need to do to create some sustainable goals that are based in logic and reason, not solely based in emotion. All right? The second step to creating sustainable goals for yourself is to figure out what it is you really want, okay? What you really want. This means that you have to get introspective, right? Which is a theme if you have not noticed by now, okay? You have to get introspective, and you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable with yourself, which is a struggle for a lot of us. I understand that, okay? But you have to figure out what you really want. What is really important to you? What are your values? What are the things that you really believe in? What are you passionate about? What is it that you really want to see manifest in your life? Not what other people want for you, not what your family wants for you, not what your friends want from you, okay? What do you actually want? All right? Not what you think you should want because society says that by the time you get to this place or this point in your life that you should want X, Y, Z. None of that. What do I really, actually, truly, genuinely want in this life? Right? You have to get clear within yourself before you can even attempt to manifest or create goals around something. If you don't know what it is that you really want, then you're wasting your time trying to fulfill goals that are not your own. It's okay to take input and feedback from other people, but at the end of the day, it has to be meaningful to you. Okay? It has to be something that you actually want to accomplish. And listen, dream your biggest dream. Dream your biggest dream as big as you can do it. It doesn't matter how weird it is. It doesn't matter how far out it is. It doesn't matter how big of a break from the traditional experience in your family has been. You got to do what's right for you. You got to do what makes sense for you. It took me a very long time to learn this lesson. And to be honest, I'm still learning this lesson on a different level maybe than before, right? Because we peeled this thing back like an onion. So I think I'm on like my second layer here in terms of my own transformation journey. But what is it that you really want? What is really important to you? Okay? You have to gain clarity around that before you can even attempt to create goals for it. All right? The third step to creating sustainable goals for yourself is to be both realistic and optimistic. So we have to be willing to really take a look at the reality of what it's going to take to manifest the desires of our heart, right? Like we have to be able to take a real solid look at the steps involved in making those things happen. We also have to be able to look at, what obstacles we're going to be facing. Like we need to be able to be realistic about what we're up against, right? But at the same time, there also needs to be a certain level or a certain amount of optimism in terms of our ability to actually manifest. We have to believe that this is something that can actually happen in our lives. And I think for a lot of us, what happens is that we spend so much time in the realm of realism that we lose our optimism. And this is a fatal error, okay? You cannot create sustainable goals if you don't absolutely believe in the reality or in your ability to manifest those goals. You have to believe that this is something that can actually happen for you, okay? So we need to be aware of what it is that we're facing, but we also need to be aware of just how fucking awesome we really are, right? And the reality and have that hope, that we'll be able to manifest those things. Because realism without optimism is really just pessimism. So we hide behind this guise of being real. I'm just being real. I got to be real about it and this, that, and the other. And yes, you do need to be real about it. I am always a proponent of being real, okay? You have to be real about what you're up against, right? But there's also still room for hope. You have to leave room for hope, right? So when you start to feel overwhelmed by the magnitude of it all, you can rest in the hopefulness and get reassured by the knowledge and understanding that optimism gives you that it's all going to work out. I'm going to do what I can do, and I'm going to get there baby step by baby step, right? Because it can be very overwhelming at times. When you look at everything that needs to happen in order for you to manifest this goal, when you look at the whole full big picture, it can be a little overwhelming. I get that. And a lot of us get caught in that trap. Okay? So yes, be realistic because you need to know what you're up against so that you can prepare for it properly. But also be optimistic and know that it doesn't matter what you're up against. One way or another, you can make it happen because this is your destiny. This is what the universe is conspiring in your favor to make sure that this happens for you. Right? It's already written. All right? So those are your 3 goals in terms of how to create sustainable goals for yourself from an internal standpoint. Like I said before, during the virtual vision board party on January 13th, we are going to learn how to actually create goals, and we are actually going to be creating a vision board for ourselves. But it was important to me that you also understand the work that goes into it. That's what the road to transformation is all about. It is about preparing us to be able to take action, right? Because we cannot just jump in there. Like, we have to have a realistic understanding of what it is that we're facing. And, we need to know what we're getting ourselves into and the reality of what this is, And I want to increase your optimism. Hello, somebody. See how I did that? All right. I want to increase your optimism by increasing your confidence and making sure that when push come to shove, when it's time for you to do what needs to happen, you have the foundation already in place. All right. I love y'all and I appreciate y'all. And until next time, be well. Bye. I'll see ya.